Hi, Rick. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, Keith. I'm fine. How about yourself?
Just happy to see you. Happy to
I'm
see
happy
you.
to see you too, man. You guys had a great time up there in Telluride, eh?
Yes, we did. We had a really wonderful time in Telluride, man. Of course, we all missed you, but totally understood that you needed to stay back and get some things done. It was beautiful, as you know, Telluride to be. The company was great. Just super grateful, super grateful.
Nice.
So, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir. Let's see. What are we talking about?
This is the title of this podcast, which I'd like you to kick off, is One Way to Change Your Attitude.
Okay, that's a really important thing that I'm struggling with right now. I have a lot of work on my desk, and I didn't expect to be this swamped, but it's always the way, you have a nice smooth plateau of being able to manage everything, and then all of a sudden you get three or four things that kind of gum it all up. And so it's easy for me to go down the rabbit hole of, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this all done? There's other people, the other firms have more resources, they have more people, it's just me, how am I going to compete, that kind of attitude. So you start, at least I do, going down this rabbit hole of bad attitude, like just awful. One thing leads to another. You know how it is, it's a cascade of
Well, yeah.
negativity. So one of the things that I've been working on is trying to figure out an effective way to counsel myself, sort of step out of my own self and pretend that I'm a therapist. And what would I do? What would I say to a guy that came to me that was doing this? Well, I think the first thing is first get a hold of the physical side of things. So breathe, right? And we
Yeah.
talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
Breathe, smile, and go slowly. And that'll give you some perspective. At least I think for me, preserves the status quo. It kind of stops me from going further down. Doesn't alleviate what caused it or anything like that. Nothing's going to alleviate the cause of it. It's only trying to work on the condition, the thing that causes you to respond. The response is all you can control, not the thing. So the next step is, I think, for me to try to say to myself in so many words, could I change my attitude about this? Is it
Mhm.
possible? Is in the world of everything that's possible,
Right.
is it within my control and
Mhm.
possible that I could possibly control this in a way where I could say, could I just let it go? Is there a way that I could stop feeling or not feel overwhelmed? Is that possible?
Right.
And then I start thinking about it. And usually while I'm thinking about that and I'm going through the question about could I, is it possible? There's a lightness that comes about. The negativity tends to dissipate. And so by asking those questions and breathing and just letting the mind out and letting the heart in, I think I'm able to manage things a little bit better. I shouldn't even say I think, I should say I feel like I'm more capable. So the point of all of this exercise is I think we each have to find a way to make sure that we're involved in a process that helps us realize that we have the ability to control
Mhm.
whatever our reactions are to the external stimuli of life. And that's all. I'm thinking about that because I was working on it this morning before the podcast, because I'm doing the podcast in my office, and to my right there, there's a stack of stuff that I have to get to. And so I deliberately left that out during the podcast because I knew this feeling would come up of not having enough time, not being able to compete with these other people with all of the work that they've done on the same level. And it's nonsense. It's just a thought, and it's just a debilitating thought that I don't want in my life.
Wow, Rick, that's great. I'm with you about the importance of changing your attitude. And, one way to do it, as you mentioned, is to, you know, uh, breathe, smile, and go slowly. It's amazing what that moment can do to free you of that being in the grip of that negative narrative or that negative attitude. It doesn't seem like much, but it's really a lifetime, that moment. And that moment is your life, right? Because if you continue to go down that road of that negative thinking, that rabbit hole that you mentioned, you're losing, suffering every step of the way, and you won't get any of that back. So that gap that you take, that moment that you take, as you mentioned, it opens up a world of possibilities of a different attitude that you can adopt to take on to do what's necessary in that moment. And I have really, really been working on that myself, of choosing my attitude. And with anything else, with practice, it becomes so much easier. I would have been challenged to choose a different approach, a different attitude years ago. But because this occurs, it has occurred more, often, I become better, being adept at changing my attitude, shifting my thinking, and I've had a better outcome. And so I'm right there with you on it, Rick. That this way that you described to change your attitude of being open to the different possibilities. And I think you asked a very important question, which was, are there other possibilities? Is there another attitude I could take regarding this? And there always is. There
Always.
always is. And so, Rick, thank you so much for that perspective.
No, you're welcome, Keith. The importance of asking yourself, could I let this go? Can't be underestimated. Could I
Mm-mm.
let this go? Because we hang on to things in a way that's not healthy. And letting go, to me, is the wisest path. I'm not letting go of the deadline in this example of me
Right.
feeling like I'm overwhelmed with work. I'm not letting go of the deadline. I'm letting go of the attitude that I'm taking or was taking about how negative, how difficult, how tough, how impossible, and all of the other things, all the other adjectives that you can throw at whatever your problem is that you're dealing with. Letting go of that. And letting go is the wisest path, I think, because all the other paths lead to misery.
Absolutely. And I like to follow up that question of, could I let it go, with what would it be like if I let it go?
Mm.
Like this coworker that my mind has told me that I can't stand, or I wish was different, or this life situation. What if I let go? And as you mentioned, not the actual situation or what's in front of you, but your feelings about it
Mm.
that are not helpful.
Mm.
What if you let those go? What would life be like? Like, what if you didn't see, people that think differently than you, look differently than you? Um, what if you let go that they are an enemy? What would life be like? You'd be surprised at how much you would find in them that you really admire. And it's funny that if you could take something that someone said without identifying who said it, and people are quick to say, "Oh yeah, I support that," and then you reveal who said it, and then their attitude completely changes. Like that like it's amazing. It's amazing. No matter what event that you think of, and then you start to see this cognitive dissonance come up to support you holding on to that identity that's
Mm-hmm.
been disproved. It's like, when I think about my life, and this is one of the things regarding my attitude, I think about, like, sometimes, people have assumed, because of my biological race being identified as African American, that it's been a really rough go for me. And for some people, it certainly has. That's been their experience. My experience has been different in terms of not just me observing like symbols of racism, but me actually being directly, like in the moment, affected by somebody actually doing something. There's three situations that have happened in my life. One happened when I was a high school kid, and some kids, drove down the street and made racial slurs. It was terrifying. Another happened when I was 17 years old, in which my cousin and we were in a very affluent part of town, which he lived in, and police officers mistaken us for somebody who were accused of uh, theft. And we were 17 years old, and we were at gunpoint. Like, we could have lost our lives. So that's number two.
Mm.
The third incident happened when I was in the Marine Corps, and another soldier called me the N word. That was number three. Three things that happened to me directly. They are dwarfed by the overwhelming kindness and support that I received from people that look different from me. So I'm going to take those three incidents, and I'm going to generalize that for a whole group of people to shape my attitude about them. I'm not doing that. I am not. I can't argue with the data. The data is that human beings have overwhelmingly been incredibly kind and gracious to me. But that was a choice of saying, if I can stay with this attitude that I was adopting in the moment that those three events happened, or I could ask myself, could I let this go? Which is followed by, what if I let this go? By letting it go, Rick, my life has been blessed in ways that I can't even count. It's just been absolutely beautiful. Now, does that mean that there are no challenges and things that need to be changed? No, they still need to be changed. There are still challenges, but I am loving and peaceful, and my eyes are wide open. And so is my heart as I go about the work of hopefully contributing to that change. And
Mhm.
so, attitude is everything. So, thank you so much, Rick. Do you want to add anything?
That was a beautiful, beautiful summation of it, Keith. And I love the idea that you're not stuck in a place where you'd be bitter and
Mm.
unable to get past it. And it's wonderful that you're able to get past those things. And I think all of the folks who are our age, who have had some life experience, have had that choice of letting it go or sticking with it and having that run you. And one leads to inner peace and stability and open-heartedness, and the other leads, as I said earlier, to misery. So thank you, Keith, for those great examples.
Oh, you're so welcome, Rick. Absolutely love you, man, and and just appreciate you being one of those most important people that have just been so kind and loving to me from day one. I love you.
I love you. You're a magnificent human, man. I like being around you.
Thank you, Rick.
Adios.
Adios.